I was all in.
Yeah.
I thought, man, I'm great. I can solve murders and get these guys to communicate. I really realized with my inner child dysfunction, all that abuse, I really knew how to talk to people.
Oh, yeah, totally. I grew up with
crazy.
a really abusive stepfather.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah.
Physical and verbal?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
just he hated kids.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. One of his first words was to my mom's was, "You brought these liabilities to this marriage."
No shit.
Yeah. And that was his attitude towards kids. Just an asshole.
Wow.
But which is interesting, right? Because did I end up in law enforcement? It's the last thing on earth I ever thought I would do.
Really?
Yeah, by far. I was just like live and let live, get along with everybody kind of guy.
Yeah.
But same thing, GED, and got into construction. I worked for Water and Power as a laborer from 18 to 27, and I took a year off, I think when I was 23, and went to Hawaii and did some residential construction there.
Really?
But I was a laborer on residential construction.
And Howley on top of that.
Yeah. I had a blast that year.
Yeah. Your work ethic was way different than those guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, totally. And then I just was like looking around, like, I need a career, man. How am I going to do this? Because I do not want to stay in this construction business. And I didn't like the work I was doing at Water and Power. And I learned a lot, and I made great money. But I just knew there was no future in it for me. I didn't want to become a journeyman, or anything. I just didn't want to do that for a career.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one day I was sitting there on corner of Torrance Boulevard and Prairie. I'm sitting at the light right in front of City Hall there, and I see this motor cop pull out. He's going to make a right, and I'm looking at him from across the intersection. I'm like, man, his job is indoors, it's outdoors, it's mental, it's physical. I was a high school wrestler, and I had some martial arts background. And I'm like, I could do that part. Man, I don't think you need a college degree for that job. Maybe I should do that, even though I didn't want to. I hate telling people what to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? It's just weird.
No.
I don't want to be judge and jury, but I'm like, it's the only kind of fit, and it's respectable. So I signed up for the El Camino College Reserve Academy just to see if I could do it, right? Mm-hmm. And I ended up, I was like, I don't know, top 3 or 5 in the class or something like that. I'm like, oh my God, maybe I can do this. I still didn't like it though, to tell you the truth.
Okay. What part did you not like? Was it the academy itself, or was it what was it you didn't like?
Paying attention to detail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the rigidness of everything, you know?
Yeah.
I go down that path, and I felt good about that. I actually did well in the class. And I'm like, okay, I could definitely do this. I just don't know if I like it. Eventually, I get hired by LAPD. And it's funny. I go to Torrance PD first.
Wow.
I applied there.
Gotcha.
And the background guy sits me down, and he goes, wow, Tim, he goes, you seem like a good candidate, but you have way too many traffic tickets. And he goes, you know, if I hire you and you go out there and wrap a black and white around some old lady on a corner, they're going to come back and say, hey, past behavior is indicative of future behavior. Why'd you hire this guy? It's going to come back on me.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, makes a point. He goes, look, LAPD is hiring big time. He goes, why don't you go there and work a few years and come back here? And I'm sitting there looking at him going, I'm here because I'm afraid to go there.
Yeah.
And if I got hired there, why the hell would I come back here?
Yeah.
Like, I just saw it differently. So I was like, okay, thank you, sir. I left. I go home, I tell my roommate. I go, hey, this is what happened. He goes, look, Tim, that's Torrance PD. They can hire the cream of the crop. You're not the cream of the crop. Let's just face it.
Yeah. Let me ask you. I remember in 92, they were asking for people with BAs, right?
Yeah.
They had to have a master's degree to come over there, and Torrance was in its own little...
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I think it was a good move.
Oh, 100%.
Torrance paid well, and it was good, but you can't take that away from LAPD for sure.
From what I learned about my personality, it turned out to be the best choice possible, right? And yeah, so my roommate just laid it out. He's like, he's right. They're hiring big time. Their standard will be lower because they need people. He goes, you don't have the great resume. So I go down there, and lo and behold, I get hired. And I'm like, okay, throw me in the worst possible place first. And if I can survive that for a year, then everything else is going to be a lot easier. And my plan was to go 2 years in this division, 2 years in this division, like this grand tour of Los Angeles, and see what it has to offer. And that's not how it went.
It never does, huh? So you get out of the academy, can you pick and choose what station you want to work, or do they pick it for you? Or do they give you like the top 5 list? Or you go
top
ahead?
3.
Top 3, okay.
Yeah. So you get a wish list for probation. I got Central Division downtown, ended up walking footbeat on Skid Row. And for a while, worked Chinatown. That was super boring. Actually, that back to my point, the first 6 months on the job at LAPD, I'd come home to my family and they'd be like, "Oh, how was it?" We'd have Sunday dinners at my grandma's house. And that was always like, that would always come up. I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't think I like this. Because I was just doing traffic tickets. On probation, you have to check off on all the things you have to do. And I was working in Chinatown, and nothing was happening. And I actually, 4 months into it, I went to my training supervisor and coordinator, and I was like, "Hey, I know I don't want to rock the boat, but I feel like I'm not learning anything. Like, I've only made 2 arrests. We're just going to radio call, nothing. It's just so boring up there in Chinatown." She goes, "Okay, let me set you up." So then she put me with a couple P2s. And now I'm working down in Skid Row area. Now we're chasing after dope. These guys are showing me. And I was like, oh, this is fun, right?
Yeah.
We're getting stolen cars. We're dealing with gangsters, all that, foot pursuits, all that. I was like, now I'm in.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah.
And then when you're getting off probation, you get 3 more choices of where you want to go on the wheel. So I picked Southeast, Southwest, and 77th. And that's where I was like, get me to the worst possible spot and let me see how I do there. And I really wanted Southeast Division because that's Watts and all that. I ended up at Southwest. And Southwest is the Crenshaw district. So it's west of USC, between the Crenshaw Mall, USC, south of the 10 freeway, north of Vernon, west of the 110 freeway. The northwest corner of South Central Los Angeles. And there I went out on patrol as a new officer on my own, and that's when I got partnered with Kristina, and there's a whole bunch of story around all that.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into. I was going to ask you just because I'm curious. So when you get out of the academy, they actually assign you like a coordinator, right? You don't just go to the station and then get a patrol officer or a training officer, right? So they assign you, they pick your person, then after that, they assign you. And then after that, you get off your probation, quote unquote, right? Then you go out, you can pick the station you want, and they'll send you, like our station, everybody wants to go to the hot station, right? You want to be a ghetto cop, right?
Yeah.
You want to have that in your resume.
Yeah. Yeah, you get your training officers through probation, and those are selected for you. And then once you wheel and you're now done with probation, you hit your first division, and you're a full-fledged police officer, you get assigned a partner or a car and 2 partners, right? You alternate, and you don't have a lot of say in that, right? Remember back then, right? You're to be seen, not heard.
Yeah.
And
they called me boy. What'd they call you?
Oh, yeah.
They called me boy. I was just boy, stay in the car. I didn't get to eat.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Did you have the same kind of?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Yeah. It's such an interesting world. I'm so glad I did it, though, honestly. So much has come from it, and I've worked with some of the best people on earth. When I ended up at Southwest, I did, I think a year and a half in patrol. And then Kristina and I got pulled into the crash units. We were getting known as a really good team out there. We were getting recognized by the gang officers. We were really pushing it. And I learned really quick at Southwest. And it's an interesting neighborhood because back then it was like a middle-class black neighborhood, some Hispanics in it. Middle class, but this layer of just Crips and Bloods that had been there 40 years and growing. And so you'll have mom works for Water and Power, sister works for DMV, and son is a hardcore Crip or Blood or something like that. And there at Southwest Division, you'll see behind the front desk, there's, I think, 11 officers have been killed, 11 or 12, maybe more. So their pictures are on the wall. And you go to Southeast, and there's just a couple. And Southeast is Watts and all that. Way more dangerous. But at Southwest Division, you're dealing with this middle-class neighborhood, but you've got this underlying criminal element in it that's super dangerous. So you have to treat everybody as if middle class normal, right?
Yes.
And I think that's where it bites officers because their guard is down. And in Watts, your guard's always on. So you're a lot more safe because you pull over a car and you got mom from DMV and sister from Water and Power, and then you got homeboy in the back seat who's super dangerous. Or you just end up in these houses, or it's just a dynamic that I think is more dangerous than even the most dangerous place in LA.
Yeah, I want to get onto Kristina, but I wanted to ask you because I wanted to know myself, because I always tell the story. I found it interesting with the county putting people in custody because it gave them a shot to look at the element that's come into custody, the type of people, the personalities. I think it's really good. I felt it was good.
Yep.
Now, if you sat on your ass and you didn't want to talk, you wanted to eat the jail food and work out in the gym, become a fat slob before you went out to patrol, that's one thing. And a lot of them would just stay there. They wouldn't go out to patrol. It wasn't a requirement then, or they changed it. But straight from LAPD, take a white boy from Beverly Hills who was raised by the Brady Bunch, right? Not a tough world, not a tough environment, right? I left home at 17 because of reasons, but you have that coming right from the academy and then dropping somebody in there. Maybe that's what they coordinate the probation, feel you out before they actually station you somewhere, because that could be tragic for you because training is very tough, right? No question. But that could be very dangerous, right? For just dropping some kid that he'd probably quit. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. 100%. I thought it was nuts. The day I graduated, I was the guide on. And so I'm standing there off the graduation field, and I'm standing there holding my guide on. I'm looking around the academy going, wait a minute, did I miss something? Is there like another 2 weeks of post-graduation? Because where was the class where they taught us the Jedi mind trick, how to control people? We didn't get that. Like, I was literally dumbfounded. I was like, I'm ready to go on the street? You got to be kidding me. I have no idea what I'm doing. And so 2 nights later, I'm in a black and white rolling around, and it's game on. And that is why you need a good training officer, right? Because they got to acclimate you to all this stuff. And that's really where the learning begins. The academy, you don't learn much at all.
No.
It's mostly law.
A couple penal code sections, yeah.
Very little tactics, very little shooting, very little combatives. It was shocking. And I'm a big guy with a background and tons of life experience. I can't imagine what my classmates were thinking.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where I was going to go with this. So I went, just for an example, not where you were in South Central, but I get a call and you got your training officer. Were you a basket case in training? I was.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get by day.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
And obviously back then it was way different. Tremendous respect for the training officers.
Yep.
My gosh, where the world they came from. And to be a training officer, it's not just a 1.5, 2 years. No, you're respected. They know you. You're there for a reason. It's a good thing. But funny part, getting out of a car and you're talking to gang members on the corner, that whole different language. Yeah, I was minding my own business, and some sloops came by in a hoopty and rolled down with a Mackie 9. Yeah. And you having to translate that, and your TL's yelling at you. Get the broadcast out, and you go, I have no idea what this guy's even talking to me about. Right?
Yeah, totally.
I know you went through that because you were a crash, right? Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, on probation, I remember my first gang stop. It was a van. You remember when they were stealing Toyota vans, minivans all over the place, but they're easy to steal and good for drive-bys. We stopped one of those on the First Street Bridge or something like that, going over the LA River, like 2 a.m. And comments to call was something, man with a gun or something like that. So we get him, and we're at gunpoint, calling him out of the car, and I'm under the streetlights, and I've probably got 2 months on the job, and I got him at gunpoint, and we call them 4 onion heads in the car, just all shaved head, white T-shirts, gangsters. And I got my gun out, and I remember my badge just rattling on my chest. And I could see it. The streetlight was reflecting off of it. It was rattling, and I was like, calm your ass down. You think all your life experience about that is all from the movies.
Yeah.
I grew up in Torrance.
Yeah.
So all that's coming rushing in, and you're just thinking worst case scenario. So you have to get acclimated to that, because you do it over and over again. Pretty soon it's no big deal, right? You're locked on, but you're calm. And so I thought that was really interesting. But when I got to Southwest, that's when I started seeing really dealing with gangsters And then I realized these guys are the cancer of the city.
Really?
Yeah.
Real deep.
Yeah. And this is time well served as a cop. If I'm going to do this job, I want to do this piece because I care what normal people think of me. And I like being the good guy. So with gangsters, I don't care what they think about me. When I bring a gangster into the station, I got him with a pistol or some good felony. You know, the neighbors, you get that secret thumbs up as you're driving away with him in the back seat. We used to get that because they can't say anything. You walk in the station, the regular officers, we're all paid the same. Doesn't matter if you're a gang officer or patrol, whatever, traffic, we're all paid the same. There's no bonus for doing gangs. But the other officers are like, ooh, nice job. Then your watch commanders, nice job. I feel good about it. The only people who are pissed is him and his homeboys and his dirty criminal family. The people, I don't care what they think. So it became super black and white. But my easygoing demeanor played really well. And yeah, you got to feign respect. You got to play the game.
Yep.
And I did that really well. So it actually ended up being this fit that I was more surprised than anybody.
Yep. So I'm dealing with a lot of security people,
Yeah.
people that want to be police officers. There are police officers watching this. Things have changed drastically today.
Yep.
There's no street cop today. I mean, there is. It's a great job, but please tell them, because I know you know exactly where I'm going to go with this. Please tell them how important it is to have communication skills. If you're a crash unit officer out there, your whole thing is really community-based policing. It's communicating, learning, and developing respect with those guys.
Yep.
Because those guys will hunt you down. How many times have you heard real aggressive guys out there where they had warrants on their head? People wanted to kill them right in the street.
Yeah.
And that gets told. Those gang members know who you are. They can respect you too. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh, no, 100%. Absolutely 100%. You cannot go out there with, I got the big stick, I'm the boss, I run this place. That place will eat you alive. They've watched generations of cops coming through. They've endured every kind of cop, and they last. That community lasts. They will outlast you, and you will have nothing but problems. And you have to be able to see it from their perspective. You have to be able to put yourself in their shoes. I used to tell gangsters all the time, I'm like, dude, if I grew up like how you grew up right here, I'd be doing the same thing as you. I guarantee it. I know myself.
Yep. Yeah.
I just grew up differently. And it goes a long ways because they're people, right? And all the same mechanisms work on them. They want to be acknowledged. And a lot of times, everybody needs purpose. It doesn't matter if it's good purpose or bad purpose, but humans need purpose. Otherwise, we're completely lost. And sometimes that's the only purpose they have, is to represent a neighborhood, represent that group. It gives them something. They value it. They need it.
Yep.
And they didn't have one time I told a gangster, he was a young one, he was tagging or something like that, and I was just being flippant and sick of it. And I grabbed him. I'm like, dude, nobody respects this. You know that, right? I go, if you're going to pick something in life, if you're going to be a gangster, be a fucking real one, right? Grab a gun, go stuff it in somebody's face, right? Take their shit, be fucking real. And I go, at least your world, the gangster world, will respect you for that. And be a man and suffer the consequences if it goes wrong. Or pick a side, come over and be part of the solution. Be a good person and don't be part of any of that stuff. But you're right here in the middle. A tagger? You got to be kidding me. You're just a theft and stuff like that.
Yeah. You're a wannabe.
Yeah, choose a lane and be a man. Be a man this way or be a man that way. And so I get back in the car and Kristina goes, I don't know if you should have said that to him. I go, why? It's real, right? And she goes, look, he may have nobody in his life to tell him differently. He doesn't have anybody to tell him how to be a good person. And she's so right, because a lot of these guys come from these terrible families. And I was like, yeah, she's right. So I didn't do that again. But it's just one of those learning moments. And I'm not wrong.
No.
Who knows what direction that pushed the guy.
But Tim, do me a favor. Also, again, we're talking people that really get educated because they have no idea. And everybody watching this is going to go, wow, this guy Tim, his education, his background. Explain to them, and like I said, you were really deep into that. These guys, half of them, never left the neighborhood.
No.
Their shoes are on the wire for a purpose.
Yeah.
That gang is their family.
Yeah,
okay, they
100%.
grew up. They see their brother on the corner making $2,000 selling rock. Why go to McDonald's at minimum wage?
Yeah.
They see all that. They have no choice. When somebody pulls up and says, "Where are you from, dog?" You better have the right answer. So that's really, they tell them they really don't have a choice.
No.
Where to go. And right, nobody. Sometimes you can ask them who the president of the United States is.
Not a clue.
They don't, no clue.
Yeah.
You can ask them, have you ever been to Disneyland?
Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing that just a little bit more, how engaged and how locked in they are in that neighborhood. It's where they were raised.
I used to always say you can't put normal thinking on abnormal people. And that is an abnormal culture, that gang culture. I'm not saying South Central culture. I'm saying the gang culture is very abnormal. And you cannot expect them to see things the way you see it. And that's what a lot of times I see a lot of officers, and I did it too, and I learned my way out of it, but a lot of officers come in and think they should see it our way. We're good people, we're doing the right things, and why aren't they doing that, right? But you're right, they come from some really horrible families, super abusive families, just no ethics, no morals, nothing. They're not. It's all about intimidation. They learn to manipulate from day one, from manipulating for breast milk, because they got these moms that are terrible people, and they get left and neglected. So they're learning how to manipulate from a child all the way up until they're independent out on their own. How to manipulate for attention, for food, for love, right? Anything, everything a person needs. And sometimes they're neglected, so they're constantly learning. It's like a sixth sense to them. That's why they're 2 steps ahead of you all the time. And, and not all of them, right? There's some that come from some decent families, and they just, some bad choices. But in that neighborhood, like in Watts, if you're not down with the gang in some way, or you haven't shown that you're out watering your lawn and the police are turning a corner and you don't yell "Popo," give them a heads up, you're not a criminal, you're not part of the problem, but you're helping them a little bit. You're giving them a little bit of an advantage. They respect that, right? So you can come out of your house and your kids can come out of the house and they're not going to get hassled at school. But as soon as you step up and try to do anything that works against them, you're going to pay the price. So good people don't come out of their houses. The people who are somehow attached, related, or down, or have a history with the gang, they can move freely. That's life down there. And here's a good example. I think it was, if I remember right, it was on Broadway and 98. There's giant 3-building apartment structure there. Always gangsters hanging out front. It's just a problem location. I'm talking to one of the officers, Hispanic guy at Southeast Division, and he tells me, he goes, "Yeah, I grew up in that building." I'm like, "You grew up in that building? You got to be kidding me." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "There were 11 boys in that building. We're all around the same age." He goes, "Only 3 of us made it." He goes, "The rest are either dead or in prison, full gangsters, whatever." He goes, "The common denominator between the 3 of us that made it was that our moms wouldn't let us out of the house." So that's the life of a normal person there. They're stuck in their house watching TV, playing video games, whatever they got. That's it. They don't get to go out. They don't get it. I grew up skateboarding till the streetlights came on.
Yep. Funny you tell that story.
Right? Ride my bike around, pack of friends. Zero concerns about. The biggest concern was not getting in trouble by your parents. How polar opposite is that? And you come out of your house there, and they literally got to look down the street. Oh, okay, the guys aren't out. The gang's not out. So they can go that corner. Then they look down the next one. They got their alternate routes to get to school. But they got to slink their way through.
Yep.
I mean, what a miserable way to live.
Yeah, I try to tell people, so you don't understand. They have those miracle markets and all that stuff over there. You know why they do that? Because they don't have the luxury to sit out and take groceries back and forth. They don't even stay they can't even stay in the living room and that's why Grandma always had respect, because she was the only one that really put the foot down. And a lot of the times Grandma would call and say, "Hey, I need some garage therapy." But and then they're like baby rattlers, the most poisonous, because they don't even have any mindset. They don't have any concept of God or other creation. No. They will do, I try to tell people, you don't understand. You can get killed. They don't care. They're on the back of the car and you go, "Do you realize what you did?"
Yeah.
No, they can't even grasp what they did. They don't care.
And respect goes a long way with them because they might not act like they're accepting it from you, but they don't get real respect from a lot of people. And they kind of know they're bad or whatever. And I think it feels good to them. So it goes a long ways when you're dealing with them, especially if you can associate and you can understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, yeah. No question. Here's what we're going to do now because, all right, you guys, so I wanted you to hear this because I know it's really entertaining, all right? And a lot of you guys want to be police officers, and Tim's definitely been there, but there's some really tragic side to what led to the business he's doing today, which is accuracy under fire. It's a unit he developed. I'm going to let him talk about that in a second, but Tim, if you don't mind, I know this is super tragic, but I really love the story. You were on Mike Rowe's podcast, by the way. Very impressive. I'd recommend you guys going to Tim's website. We're going to give you all this information, but would you mind? Because I know Kristina's a big deal. It's very rare to hear about women police officers that are that gifted, right? That special, especially in a men's environment, we call it, right? We can have nothing but all kinds of respect for when we find women that are really good cops. Yeah. And you married one.
Yep.
Okay. That's a whole other thing, right?
Yeah.
That having two police officers, it's got a clip. So
that's a lot.
Can you share a little bit about Kristina? Would you mind?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, she deserves all the respect in the world. She was actually my classmate in the academy. The first day of the academy, we show up at 4:30 in the morning, right? Black Line Monday, they call it. We're all outside in our suits in the parking lot, 4:30. And this female comes out and she comes out and starts like getting us assembled into columns of 2 or something like that. And I remember as she walked out, she's looking at us and she's giving us some orders. And I'm looking at her going, who is this grumpy chick? Who does she think she is? And the second thought in my head was not that I'm going to marry that chick, but I did. And
that is absolutely incredible. Now, was she on the department already?
Yeah. So the females had a 2-week lead class where they like a little 2-week advantage class. I don't remember what they called it, but so she was part of that. So they said, all right, Rapati, go out there and get everybody, bring them into the room, get them on the black line. So she had to march us all in. There's a big, long black line. Everybody stands there at attention with your toes on the black line. And then boot camp starts. That, you know how it is. That was my first experience with her. And then in the academy, we had 120 people in our class, and she was in another squad. And so I didn't know her during the academy, but I knew she had a great reputation. I go to probation at Central Division, and then I wheel after probation to Southwest, and I'm in patrol, and I'm in roll call. And the watch commander reads off, all right, Pearce, you're with Rapati, whatever, 3 Adam 21 or something. I'm like, I remember thinking, oh, shit. Like, she's got a great reputation already, and she looks grumpy as hell. And I'm like, this chick's going to make me look bad, you know? Right?
Mm-hmm. Sure. She's going to talk shit about me.
Yeah. So we get in the car, we do the whole thing. I carry a backup on my ankle, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And we drive out of the station. This is the first 30 seconds together in a black and white. And we come out of the station onto Martin Luther King Boulevard. Some car with 4 gangsters in it through traffic, right? We're like, oh, get that. You have to, right? Mm-hmm. He's just being such an asshole in traffic. So we fly after, we pull over, and they start chipping, and it just becomes, and I get in a heated thing with one of them, right? Mm-hmm. And when it's all said and done, I'm walking back to the car, and I'm thinking to myself, fuck. I already lost it. And I'm already embarrassed myself in front of her. And we get in the car, and I'm like, God damn it. And she starts cracking jokes. And I'm like, oh, my God, this chick's kind of cool.
Sure.
And next thing you know, we are on the same page, man. We're coming to the same conclusion that gangsters are the cancer of the city, and that's our mission. And we just launched. And she was the type, like I always say, she was, as far as officers go, she's top 5% of LAPD, male or female, hands down.
Wow. Just
unique, super smart, super driven, super fit, not trying to act like a guy.
So that's the biggest part, like women. Sometimes it's just, you love them, you respect them. So put your hair in a ponytail and wear a baseball cap. And if you can be a woman and you can be a cop, oh my God.
Yeah.
What a combo.
Yeah, super combo. And just so incredibly intelligent. We'd be driving, and you know how at roll call they slide all these wanted flyers in front of you for that week or whatever? And you look at them, okay, that fits where I work. No, that blah, 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 blah. I would watch her. She would look at them, pass them on. Look at them, pass them on. 6 months later, we'd be driving down King Boulevard, and she'd be like, get him right there, grab him. I was always driver. She'd pop out, hook him up, lying, and she'd be like, okay, I know this guy, I know him. Back to the station. Yep, here he is.
No kidding.
6 months ago, she saw that flyer. Or we would pull over a car, 5 gangsters in it. 4 of them are telling the truth. One's lying about his name. We let him go because something hot shot comes out. Months later, pull over a whole nother pack of gangsters, and that guy is in the middle of them. Still lying about his name. She goes, bullshit. You told me I stopped you on 39th and Western. You were with this guy, that guy. You were in this car, and you told me your name was da-da-da-da-da. And even all his homeboys would be like, damn, she's got you.
Wow.
And she loved being in foot pursuits, and she was a kickboxer, jiu-jitsu fighter, and we were just on the same page. It was fun. It was like having a wildcat in the passenger seat next to you.
Sure.
And I like to say I was the voice of reason in the car. She will completely argue with that.
So let me ask you. So I've worked car with some attractive women.
Yeah.
But when did you know that when did you know that you loved her? Because I'm going to let you finish that one.
Sure. Yeah.
When did you know when you looked over and you said, God dang,
There was actually my mother, she's like, I think there's something up with you and your partner. And I go, Mom, are you kidding me? I go, A, I will never date a cop. And B, I don't like white chicks that much.
Yeah.
Like I was dating Hispanic girls and
God.
Asian girls, right, back then. And she's like, no, I think something's up. And then at work, everybody was like, they'd be like, so what's up with you and Rapati, man? Is on duty booty? I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
She won't even let me stop to eat. Like, we're go, go, go. Just pull in the Taco Bell and eat on the hood of the car and let's go. There's zero of that. But we kept making excuses to hang out. So I got her to move. She wanted to move down to the South Bay. When I first started working with her, she was a surfer. She was learning how to surf.
Okay.
And I've been a lifelong surfer. And I'm like, you should be down in South Bay. I'll surf with you, whatever. We're partners. And so we're friends. And so I took her surfing a few times, and I was showing her, teaching her some stuff. And before you know it, we're running together before work, working out, stuff like that. And then her and her sister ended up buying a house down in Redondo Beach. And they loved it down there. So then we were just finding every excuse under the sun to hang out off duty, still not thinking there was anything there.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
Just, okay, you're having fun, it's cool. And in the back of your mind, you're probably going, I'm going to keep this professional anyway, so I'm really enjoying this. I don't want to screw it up,
I got
right?
a great partner.
Gotcha.
She's super cool. I had this girlfriend at the time, and then that had ended, and then Baker to Vegas came around, and we ran Baker to Vegas. We were in the crash unit and everything. And the big party at the end of Baker to Vegas. We were hammered. And so next thing you know, we ended up on dance floor or something like that. And then next thing you know, the magnet started happening and boom, first kiss and
Baker to Vegas.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
And then eventually we started dating and we were still working together and we were still in crash. And then at one point we had to let my lieutenant know.
Yeah, because they were going to separate you otherwise, huh?
Was that right? Yeah, so we pull the lieutenant outside the office, and we're like, hey, LT, Lieutenant Art Miller. We go, hey, LT, so we got something to tell you. And so we tell him. He looks at me and he goes, wow, Tim, you really do like a challenge, don't you?
Did he really? That's great. That's great.
And then we got in a shooting right after that.
You both did?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We were in the station, and patrol cop comes in and goes, hey, you guys know this gangster named, I can't remember his name at the time. It's like Crazy O or something like that. And we're like, yeah, we see him all the time. And he goes, hey, he just beat up his baby's mama bad. He had a picture. And both her eyes were completely shut, broke her cheekbones and stuff. And he's a big dude. And he hangs out on 39th Place, just east of Normandy. So we're like, yeah, we'll find him tonight. Like, he's almost always out there. So we jump in the car, head down Normandy, turn east on 39th Place. About 5 houses in, there's a bungalows, and they usually hang out in the back there. We hit the driveway, jack everybody up. On this night, we go down there. There's people up and down the street where there's normally never people, and everybody looks like they all know something's happening, but we don't. And I even said it to her. I go, something's up right now on this block. And she goes, yeah, I know. I can tell. I go, hey, let's go around the block. We'll park on the next street over. We'll come on foot from that side. We'll come through this parking lot, hop this fence, and we'll come out by those apartments right by where he hangs out, and we'll see if we can, like, peek and see what's up. So we do that. So we're coming up behind, like, down the long side of an apartment building in that little walkway where all the kitchen windows are and the gas meters, like a little walkway, it's a big fence.
Yep.
And on the other side of the fence is a house. And the fence has all this ivy on it. And so we're creeping up there, and we get to where we're at now. We're at the front of the building, but there's a little fence, and then the front lawn is there, and there's a ivy wall separating the house next to us, and we can hear some people talking. So I tell her, I go, right here, somebody's right here. It's not where we want to get eyes on is 2 doors down, but this is right next door. And she's like, yeah. So I go, I'm like, I already have my gun out by my leg, and I go, you want to go over the fence or you want to go around? And right then, I remember hearing something like sliding on the ground, and I turned forward, and homeboy has stepped off his driveway over that little wall that separates somebody else's driveway from the front lawn. He steps over, and he's got a shotgun. He racks it, and he goes, "What up, motherfucker?" And I've already come up, and I'm pulling the trigger right on a Soloplex. And we're 12, 14 feet from each other.
Wow.
And I'm right in front of Kristina, and when as I take aim on him, I take a step to the left a little bit. And so now we're a little bit offset. He blasts a millisecond before I blast. And I get hit in the face with all the wadding, all the powder. I don't know that, but it was like someone taking super coarse sand and firing it into your face as hard as they could from point blank. I get hit with something, so I mashed the trigger. It was right here, and I mashed the trigger, and I get blinded by the muzzle flash. I can't remember if it was his or mine. And as I come up, I squeeze off 4 rounds. I come up, he's on the deck, shotgun's by his feet, and his homeboy takes off running. Kristina puts out the broadcast. I hop over this little short fence, hook him up. I'm like, "Where you hit?" And he's like, "You shot me in the leg, motherfucker." I had hit him in the upper thigh, split his femur, and 3 of my rounds went across the street. So I run over there to make sure the people in the house across the street are okay. I thought they might have went through their windows.
Sure.
They opened the doors, they're bug-eyed. Everybody's all right? Yeah. Turns out my rounds went right down their driveway and hit their garage. So run back out to the street. Kristina's standing over him, putting up the perimeter and all that stuff. And the first car gets there. It's my buddy. And he goes, "What happened?" I go, "Shot that guy. Kristina's got the gun. We're okay." I go, "Dude," I took my flashlight and I pointed it down me. I go, "Am I bleeding?" I go, "I got hit with something. I can't believe I can see." And he goes, "No, you're not bleeding because you got black shit all over your face." And I went to wipe it, and he goes, "No, don't do that. That's evidence." It was gunpowder. The load had come right past my head.
Oh, geez, man. What kind of birdshot did he have?
It was birdshot.
Oh, shit.
The second round was double-aught buck,
Oh.
but he didn't get that off.
Oh, man.
So the first round comes right past me, and I catch the cloud of gunpowder that coming with it, and some of the pellets clip Kristina's jacket, and so they came out. LAPD SID, the Scientific Investigation Division, they came out with 3-inch clear tape and literally collected gunpowder off my face and out of my hair and out of the webbings of my fingers.
So if you wouldn't have got lucky and hit him in the leg, that's what dropped him. You got him in the femur.
Yeah.
That's what took him down, huh?
Yeah.
Do you know if that was first, second, third? What do you think? Shot.
I think it was first.
Let me ask you. When you shot, where did you even know how many rounds you shot? Were you really? I know you
No.
were focused in.
Yeah.
But you got a shotgun. This guy's blasting. You said you shot first, and he was like, boom.
He shot first.
He shot first. It was
Yeah.
like, boom. Okay, that's where.
Like
Okay.
milliseconds.
Wow.
And I remember. Here's the interesting thing. So your first shooting, right? And I remember pulling the trigger, and I'm square on his solar plex. I'm gonna put one right in his chest.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, okay, I'm good with the department on this. I'm looking at a cornrowed gangster with a shotgun,
I'm clear.
face to face. He's racked it and he's pointing it right at me. And my thinking was, okay, I'm good with the department on this as I'm pulling the trigger. Then my thinking goes to, God, I hope this isn't a neighbor who thinks I'm a burglar. But then I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm a 6'3" white guy in a uniform with a badge under a street light. There's no, like, all that's going through your head in milliseconds as you're pulling the trigger. But that doubt is what let him get the first shot off.
Yeah. See, that's why I try to tell people too. We have to think that way. They can point, turn sideways. There's no thought process.
Exactly.
We have to think about the family and people behind it.
Yep.
And that's what will get you killed.
Yep.
But we have to think that way.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what time was it at night?
Oh, this was like, I think this was like 12 or 1 in the morning.
Oh, my
like that.
God.
12, midnight, yeah, probably around midnight.
Wow, Tim, that. If that would have been a day thing,
Yeah.
he probably would have got lucky.
Yeah.
And Christina was okay.
Yeah, she was good.
She didn't get anything off, but she was probably okay.
She was right
Was
behind
she
me.
still
had-
holstered at
she
the time?
She had no room. She had her pistol out, but she had no room because we were in this little narrow walkway,
Yeah.
and she was stuck behind me.
Yeah.
And the only reason she got hit with anything is because I took a side step as I took my shooting position, and just unthinking, I just did that. And as I sidestepped, it exposed her just by chance. And she was trying to figure out, because she didn't see him. She just knew there were two guys creeping. And what had happened is they had that shotgun in a bag under the car, and they were selling dope in that driveway. And so they heard us coming up, and so then they pulled the shotgun out. That was the scrape on the ground. It was in the bag, like a gun bag. They pulled it out, pulled the shotgun out, and he comes over, steps over the wall, and confronts me.
Do you think he knew it was you guys?
At first, probably not.
Okay, at first.
Because he couldn't have seen us until we came face to face, and now but there was no denying he's pointing a gun at a white cop, 6'3".
Yeah.
His fence was only like waist high.
Yeah.
I'm standing there. I got the street light looking at me. There's no way.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting piece to that story. Kristina and I were leading the department in personnel complaints because we were working over the rolling 30 Crips. We'd put between 80 and 90 of them in jail for felonies in a year and a half or something like that. We were on them. We got trained by two really good crash officers, Shannon and Cato. And they took us around, introduced us to all the gangsters. We rode 4 deep with them for about a month. And they said, these guys are taking over. We're moving on. And so we got introduced to the gang like that.
That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That's you think about that today?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I got to go back to Kristina. How sharp was she to know that there's probably a second guy behind you, and to
Yeah.
stay focused, have her gun, and concentrate on that versus you
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's amazing.
And then she put up an amazing perimeter. She's great on the radio. Like I said, she's awesome. And Chief Parks had come in when we were new partners, and he had laid down this new complaint policy. Any and all complaints will be taken. So a sergeant could not come out and run interference for you anymore. And I remember when they read that off in roll call, I turned to Kristina, I go, Kristina, this is going to get someone killed. Because cops are going to hesitate. And this plays into when she got shot years later. I go, specifically say, I go, this is going to get an officer killed because they're going to hesitate trying to avoid getting a complaint. She goes, yeah, I know. So under that new complaint system, we weren't stopping. We were working harder.
Yeah,
than
you're doing your
anybody.
job.
Yeah. And we were being super effective, but then they started doing these campaigns against us, knowing that they could get the department to get us moved. In essence, that complaint system is a glass ceiling, and the gangsters control it. The gangsters control how effective police officers can be because they can initiate complaint campaigns and get you moved.
Yeah, they're two steps ahead.
Because the department has to Where there's smoke, there's fire. And for your safety, for your career safety, we need to move you because you're getting too many complaints. So you just let the gangsters control the crime level in that neighborhood department. And it's still that way today. And that's why you're seeing no proactive policing. It's just squashing it. But anyways, we're leading the department. That guy goes to jail for 2 counts of attempt murder on PO, ex-con with a gun, gang member with a gun. He's 24 years old. He's looking at life. He sits in county jail for 9 months, and then it's trial time. So city attorney's office calls us in and says, hey, it's trial time. We want to offer him a deal because you guys have so many complaints and a lot of use of force complaints, nothing sustained, but you have a lot of use of force complaints. And since this is a use of force case, the defense can bring in all your complainants, even though they're not related to this, that if they had complained about use of force, and they can come in and act as anti-terror character witnesses against you guys. And so if they sway one juror, we lose this. So we want to offer him a deal that he can't refuse. And we're like, F that.
Yeah, so you can get your conviction rate.
Yeah, take it to the box. But they did it anyways. They offered him time served, straight ADW, that's it, and a suspended sentence of 8 years. So the idea was, he's a gangster, he's going to commit another crime, he'll get time for that new crime and the 8 years on this crime. And it's right before Christmas, he'll take this deal and he'll be out, and that's the way we're going to get him. They had to game the system because of our complaint system. So sure enough, he takes that. Who wouldn't?
Yep. Need to do half that.
So in 30 days of him getting out of jail, he's already shot another lady with a shotgun. It was a hood thing, and she wouldn't testify against him. She survived and wouldn't testify. And then within that same 30 days, he carjacked a family in Santa Monica. And Santa Monica caught him in the family's car and did him for 25 to life. Armed carjacking. But A, that lady didn't need to get shot, and B, that Santa Monica family didn't need to get carjacked at gunpoint. All because of our irresponsible complaint system, which was designed to grease the squeaky wheels of the community saying we're being abused by police.
Yeah.
So who's paying the price?
Yeah.
The community's paying the price.
Sure.
Because the cops can't do their job.
Yep.
Vision InSites is the simplest, most powerful security guard management software. No long training, no complicated systems. Guards can start reporting in minutes. Train your teams with micro trainings, attaching video to individual checkpoints to walk them through sensitive procedures. Submit accurate reports every time with dynamic observations that automatically rewrite, categorize, and prioritize, removing human error. And grow your business with daily, monthly, and quarterly insights, the most advanced reports available today. Vision InSites, the simplest, most powerful way to report.
So right after that, then we got in another Bigfoot pursuit with a guy with a gun, and Kristina got lost I lost her. And I had to put out, I lost my partner. And after that, we set up a perimeter. She has ended up in a backyard with the guy, caught him and all that stuff.
Of course.
Yeah, she was no joke. And after that, they were like, all right, we got to split you guys up. And then...
When did you guys get married?
2003.
Still, were you partners when you were married? Or you couldn't be then?
we had
Yeah,
already...
You split? Okay.
Yeah, we had split.
Yeah, they wouldn't let that happen probably.
Yeah. Well, we were newly married. And this is how we get to... I'll tie a couple things in here. The product and that complaint system. We're newly married. They had split us up. Homicide had come to us saying, hey, we're looking for this guy who's wanted on a murder. And we're like, oh, okay. They gave us 2 new partners. They gave us really slow partners because they wanted us to stop getting complaints. And we were like, oh, you just empowered us because now we got 2 cars. So we're working as a team from 2 cars on our gang with 2 new partners.
Same shift.
Yeah. And I end up transferring down to Watts. I get into the Watts gang unit. So I'm working that. We're newly married. My daughter's 16 months old. That morning is June 3rd, 2006. we run a relay race down at Dockweiler Beach, and it's an annual race to raise money for fallen officers' families. We did it every year. So Kristina jumps on my gang unit's teams, and so we have a picture of a couple of the guys on my gang unit, my sergeant, me standing there. I'm holding my daughter. She's 16 months old. Kristina's standing next to me. We all got our running numbers on. We go home from that race. My mom was doing childcare for us, so I passed Jordan, my daughter, off to my mom. We shower up. She goes off to Southwest Division. I go to Southeast Division. Now it's 10 o'clock at night, and halfway through my shift, and I'm in Jordan Downs housing projects, and I hear, I need help. I need help. Something, and my partner and I look at each other. Was that a help call? Is this broken? And all of a sudden it comes out. Officer needs help. Officer down. Shots fired. Da da da. 39th LaSalle. So boom, we fly down Century Boulevard from the projects to the 110 freeway. Jump on the 110 freeway, doing Mach 10, and we're getting off at Coliseum right by USC to get onto Martin Luther King Boulevard. So we're getting off. And my phone rings, and Scotty, my partner, turns to me and he goes, "Hey, is Kristina working?" And our schedules are so screwy, I'd forgotten. I'm an airhead anyways, right? So I was like, "Oh, yeah, she is." And I just didn't worry about her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because she's so goddamn solid. And right then, my phone rings in my pocket. I look at it, and it's her sergeant, who's a friend of ours, Robin Brown. I go, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Where you at?" I go, "I'm getting off at Coliseum." He goes, "It's Kristina." And I go, "Yeah, I just figured that out. I'll be right there." And Scotty just starts driving like crazy to get there, down King. And I go, "Dude, don't crash. Just get us there. You crash, we can't help."
Did you know that she was shot at that time or just involved in a shooting?
So on the way there, I thought, Scotty had asked me, he goes, "Kristina working?" And I go, "That's her hood." And I was thinking, yeah, she's definitely involved in this and helping with it.
Yeah.
Not shot, not involved in the shooting.
Okay.
I just assumed she was on it.
Yeah, she's Superwoman.
Yeah. And then the phone rings, and then I'm like, oh, I remember showing it to Scotty. I go, "Here it goes." And I go, "Yeah, Sarge." And he goes, "It's Kristina." And I'm like, okay. So now it's all changed. Down King, turn up LaSalle, bunch of cop cars there. I run up. The paramedics are just walking up the steps and putting their boxes down as I get there. Homeboy's dead on the front lawn. I hop over him. I go up the stairs and I slip. There's thick, syrupy purple blood coming out from under her, the arterial blood coming out from under her back, solid down 4 steps, and a big puddle on the walkway. And I remember grabbing the paramedics by the shoulders. I pull them apart and I look at her, and she is sheet white, no blue in her eyes, pupils dilated all the way out. And she's unresponsive, and I see that purple blood coming out from under her back, and I hop over her, and I'm talking to her. I'm telling her, I'm like, "Kristina, this is your fight. Don't give up on this fight. You need to fight this." And it's so weird because you're in uniform, right? And this is your wife and the mother of your daughter, and you can't lose it.
Nope.
You can't become part of the problem, so you can't even register your emotions. I remember looking at her going, fuck, she is. I've seen, at that point, 10 years on the job and say 8 in South Central, I had seen hundreds of people in various stages of shot, dead, or dying. And I took one look at her. I said, "There's no way she's making this." And she had just lost her sister a year earlier to complications from lupus. Her sister was a year younger. The 3 of us lived together. We were like the 3 musketeers. We went everywhere together. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh my God, how am I going to tell her mom she just lost another daughter? And then I was like, this is my wife. And then I got to tell her I love her. So I'm telling her, "Kristina, I love you," because I can't tell if she can hear. And we get her on the board. And then I jump in the car, and Scotty and I break traffic for the ambulance or the paramedics. And we're breaking all the way to California Hospital. And this is a crazy story. The surgeon, who's like the miracle surgeon guy, is getting off his shift, walks out to his car, is opening his car door. He tells me this later. And the sliding doors to the emergency room, somebody had walked in, the doors opened, and he heard the broadcast, like a part of the broadcast inside the hospital. And he thought he had heard it. And he goes, I better check. He came back in and realized, oh, they got a downed officer coming in. So he stayed, got the trauma room prep. We come into the trauma room. I'm in there with her. And I'm like wedged in this corner, and they're all working on her like crazy and cutting everything off and handing it to me. And they don't know that I'm her husband. And the thing on the wall is going, no pulse detected. And I'm standing in the corner like this, just trying to be out of the way, holding all her stuff. And I'm watching them. And I want to say, hey, that's my wife. But I don't want them to, like, for a millisecond, distract their concentration on her.
Or take you out of the room.
So I'm standing there and I'm thinking, like, in the academy, I remembered this one day, they said, there are times on this job where you will be directed to do things that you completely disagree with. And you need to shut your mouth and do your job. That's just the way it is. You may not agree with the law or protest or something. You may be on the side of them, but you have a job to do, and you need to shut your mouth and just do your job. I remember him saying that. And I remember standing in that corner in the trauma room going, I really want to say something, but I can't. This is the epitome of that moment where you just got to suck it up and take it.
Oh, my God, Tim. I cannot. This is really deep because I think as a cop, I saw some stuff, not like you did and everything, but I think God gave us a gift for a second to go, that's not real, so you don't lose your mind. Because when you look at something, there's stuff I looked at, the same thing I look at, I go, when you see like a tragic event, your mind doesn't tell you that's real. You sit there and you go, that's not real. Because if you knew it was real, like try to tell people, that's not a movie. It's not anything like you see in a movie, okay? Your whole mind, there's a protection mode where your mind goes, that's not real. It just gives you that second to not take you there. And you're there now, and it's your wife, and she's laying on that table, and they're pulling stuff off her, and you're looking for a heartbeat. How did you maintain?
You know what's crazy is they had IVs in both sides, both carotids.
Trying to get blood into her.
Yeah, both brachials and both femoral arteries. And I remember the guy saying, all her veins are flat, man, I can't get blood in her. And the surgeon was going, get it in her, get it in her. Like it was getting panicky, right? They were losing her. And then all of a sudden one opens up, and I watched them put 5 bags of blood in her. And once they got blood in her, they moved her over to the CT scan, and we all moved into that room. And then they stopped the CT, and they come to me, and they're like, hey, we found bullets in her spine. She's going to be paralyzed, but most likely she'll have use of her hands. And I remember thinking, okay, we got that. We got that. And I remembered this surfer. I saw a surf movie of this surfer who had been paralyzed in a surfing accident, and his brother got him back out surfing, like bodyboarding on surfboards with handles. I remember thinking, I got to find that guy. We can do that. I'm making plans already.
Yep.
And another piece of that, he ends up rolling into her room a week later. And she goes up to surgery. She survives. But she's paralyzed from the chest down, 100% permanent. What had happened to us, I missed this part, sorry. What had happened was she's driving down Denker, heading to the station on the corner of Denker and Martin Luther King. It's 10 o'clock at night. As they're driving to the station to get something, on the opposite corner of the station is a little mini mart. Homeboy had gone in there, robbed everybody. Now, this guy had a 78-page rap sheet, had never been out of prison more than 3 years, had never not violated parole, had a series of robberies and a murder and all kinds of stuff. But he's out. And so he goes in there and he robs everybody, and he takes off on foot and is going north on Denker. Kristina's coming south on Denker. The victims literally run across the intersection catty corner to the front desk of the station. We just got robbed, male black, north on Denker from King. The desk officer pulls up the radio, is going to put it out to the division. Kristina sees this guy and doesn't even know he's robbed anything. He just ducks behind a car like he's dumping something. Her and her partner, Joe, key in on that. They're like, what's up with him? Grab him. Boop, just being proactive. She pops out of the passenger side. Hey, let me talk to you. Boom, he runs. She's chasing him. This is her third foot pursuit of the night. And she told me the 2 earlier were rolling 30 Crips, and she caught both of them, but they dumped what they had, and she didn't have anything to arrest them, so she let them go. And she goes, those two were way more dangerous. One of them was through the middle of a house full of gangsters, and she caught the guy on the back wall in the backyard. So this guy is 50 years old, so now she's chasing him. She's watching his hands, no gun in his hands. He runs down the sidewalk, the short end of the block, cuts across a corner lawn, and runs up a fourplex, up the steps to a fourplex, and she catches him at the door. Boom. So he's trying to get in the door, and she grabs him. Now she grabs him and is going to rip him down to the ground, cuff him, and figure out why he's running. And why did she grab him? Earlier that night, a lieutenant had told her, one more complaint and you are out of the field forever. You will never see the street again. And she looked at him like, whatever. I'm not going to do my job? You guys are kidding me. That's my job. That's what I know her thinking, right? So what does she do? She grabs him. She's trying to downplay it. The guy's aggressive, combative. He's running. She still doesn't know he's a robbery suspect. Yep. She doesn't see a gun in his hands. So when she grabs him, he had pulled his pistol, he spun, he stuffed it up under her armpit and shot her right up in the crease of the armpit above the vest. That bullet hits her in the spinal cord, lights off, boom, she drops. He stands over and he shoots her 3 more times on the deck trying to execute her. And luckily, Joe, her partner, is stopped on the grass and is shooting at him simultaneously. So he misses and he hits her in the arm instead of hitting her in the head. Joe sends one through his shoulder, spins him around. Next round goes through his back, hits his aorta. He drops dead next to Kristina. Luckily, 2 of our SWAT officers had just been cross-trained as medics. They had just graduated their medic class 2 days earlier. And they were on crime suppression in Southwest, which is super rare because our SWAT guys are always busy. And when they have some free time, they send them out to just do crime suppression. Just proactive policing. They happened to get to her first. Joe, her partner, was broadcasting, officer down, shots fired. His broadcast got stepped on by the desk officer saying, hey, we just had a robbery occur, right? That's why we got a broken transmission when I was in Watts. And then Joe comes on and he's yelling. Joe has got his finger up inside the bullet hole trying to stop the artery bleed in the crease of the armpit, trying to put pressure on it. And then those 2 SWAT officers get there and they start working on her until the paramedics get there and take over. Insane. And so you can see the tie-in with that complaint system.
Yep. And by the way, you guys, for the record, if she would have known that was an armed robbery, everything would have probably been way different. Her approach, everything would have been different.
Her
she
gun
would
have been out.
Timing is horrible right now.
Yeah, she would never have grabbed him.
Yep.
No, she could have front kicked him right into that wall.
Yep.
And the hands
would have been totally different.
Her signature move would club people with her flashlight. But they had already taken the big flashlights away from us. But 145-pound female.
Yeah.
She needs some advantages.
Yep.
And I've seen her drop guys my size. But anyways, that's why she grabbed him. So.
Where is your mind, man? My God, I'm not kidding you. I don't know. What'd you do? You'd sleep for a week. How do you go back to your baby, hold your baby?
You never sleep
How do you
again.
go back and talk to the mom? How do you do that? You could do it for everybody else in the city when you have to, right?
Yeah.
And now it's you.
I remember driving, following the ambulance to California Hospital. I called my mom, but she was home with my daughter. She goes, what's going on? I go, Mom, Kristina got shot. She goes, oh my God, is she okay? And that's when I broke.
Sure.
I go, no, Mom, she's not. She's not okay.
Yeah.
She's probably going to die. I go, I'm on my way to the hospital right now. I'll call you later. I felt terrible snapping at my mom, but it was the only
You had to release.
chance I could. And then once I was in that trauma room, boom, it was like, and then once she went off to surgery, I remember stepping out of the room and like into this big corridor, and I step out there and there's like 300 cops in uniform there. Everybody came to the station. South Bureau came to the station, came to the hospital. They ringed the entire hospital with cop cars. And I remember stepping out and looking, and it took my breath away. And everybody just turned and looked at me, and it was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. And I remember taking a big breath and going, okay, I got to address everybody. And I said, all right, guys, this is what I know. Blah, 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 blah. And that kind of started. But that was the starting gun of my life, man. Boom. And it has not stopped yet. It was 2006. It has been balls to the wall, fucking work, nonstop. And
Okay. That's your therapy.
exactly.
You don't want to think about it. That's why you don't want to think about it.
So interesting. This is how the product comes out of this. So we're doing physical therapy all over the place. Kristina is getting introduced to just amazing doctors, amazing people. We had, actually, I got to say this first. We, in and out, for the week, I think she was in California hospital for like 12 days before she went off to a rehab hospital for 4 months. That first week, the news was all over me going in and out of the hospital. And so I talked to Kristina. I go, hey, news bugging the hell out of me, trying to get me to say something. We don't talk to the news. And I go, do you need me to say anything? And she goes, yeah. She goes, maybe somebody will see it that can help me walk again. I want to walk. I go, Kristina, if I do that, that puts us on Front Street and every gangster in the city is going to know exactly who we are. I go, it's going to change everything. She goes, I know, but I want to walk again. And I was sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, okay, she is the most hard-headed person on earth. She is just so incredibly strong. She's young. She's super fit. She was like a CrossFit monster leading into this. And we're both armed, and I'm thinking, if anybody's got to be in that position, the two of us are probably the best people to be in that position. And she's right. Maybe somebody will see this. Maybe there's some experimental surgeries or something out there, and she needs to get on that list. So I said, okay. So I called the department personnel or department media relations, and I think it was Captain Sands. I go, sir, what do I do? He goes, don't talk to any of them. He goes, let me coordinate a press conference, and then you'll talk to them all at once. Otherwise, they're individually going to just tear you apart.
Butcher it.
So that night at the hospital, there's a podium, 20 cameras. I step up to the podium, and I'm like, I just spoke from the heart. Next thing I know, Home Makeover is looking at us. A bunch of fundraisers for us, then Home Makeover. So I'm the point person for our family, and that's what I mean. The starting gun goes off, and it was just nonstop. And Home Makeover does happen. It was freaking incredible. But every criminal everywhere knew exactly what we looked like,
Where you are.
where we live. I went back to work after a few months, and all the gangsters are talking to me. Everybody knew where I lived. And you have to come up, you can't lie. You can't fake it.
Let me ask you, Tim. Did you even want to go back? How hard was that for you to go back? I know you had to.
Caught a guy with a gun in the first 15 minutes I was on the street.
Were you?
Yep. Just by chance. But I was.
Okay. Let me ask you. How did that? Didn't change anything because you're a professional, right? You're not going to let the emotion override it, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We had a big gang party. My first night back, I'm in the gang office, and one of the units comes in and says, hey, 98th, whatever, I can't remember the gang. They're like, there's a shit ton of them out. They're all out on the street. Let's hit it. So we jump in 4 deep in 4 cars. Our stealthy way through the neighborhood, hit the corner, no lights, boom, drive right in the middle of this crowd. Boom, guys run everywhere, a couple guns. And one guy he's grabbing his waistband, he's trying to cut, and he's coming towards me. Boom, I cut him off, right? Grab him. He had dumped the gun.
Thank God.
And then he tried to break, and I caught him and then landed on him in the street, ultimately get him. I was like, whoa, this is nuts, man. First 15 minutes in the field, I'm all, like, that's the way, target-rich environment, right? But what you said is distraction. So we do all this physical therapy. We're in the makeover house. And we're doing a lot of electrical muscle stimulation on her legs, TENS units with the little sticky electrodes.
Yep.
And someone gives me a take-home one you can buy on Amazon so we could do it at home. And so before, she was sitting on the bed, right? And I put it on my bicep. And I'm like flicking dials. I'm not going to read the instructions. I'm just like flicking dials. All of a sudden, boom, it kicks on full blast and fully chicken wings my arm. Right? It holds me there. It was like on a ramp cycle. So, I don't know, 30 seconds or 3 seconds, 5 seconds. So it's got me, boom, and then it lets me go. And I was like, whoa. And I started thinking about it. I remember Kristina, she goes, what are you doing? Because I did it a few more times. And she goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm seeing how much I can take. And she goes, you're a dumbass.
What are you, a little boy?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But I started thinking about it, and I remembered a cop telling me that when he got shot in the shoulder, that it was like getting hit by a baseball bat. Huge impact, the burn, the incapacitation, the fear, the confusion, all that coming rushing in. And when I lit myself up with this TENS unit, and then it let me go, I thought, man, that is so similar. It was immediate. It was totally disabling, totally distracting, and totally out of my control. If I could make that remote control, man, we would have a legitimate injury simulator. And I even remembered back to the academy, we had a training, tactical class, and 2 SWAT officers came in and were teaching the class. Now, mind you, in the academy, I'm a construction worker, right? 3 months out of construction into the academy. I'm sitting there, I know nothing. And the guy goes, yeah, you guys have got to practice with your offhand, reloading, because you might be in a pursuit, getting a huge crash at the end of the pursuit, crush your gun hand on the steering wheel, it's broken, and the gunfight starts there. And I remember thinking, oh, I never thought about that. He goes, so we'll handcuff our hand behind our back to our belt, and we'll practice all our one-handed manipulations, and you need to be doing that too. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but really? That's what they do? LAPD SWAT handcuffs their hand behind their back to simulate they got shot? That's archaic. I just assumed they would have something more sophisticated than that. This job is about trying not to get shot, right? And that's what we got is adult pretend to rely on. So that was in 96. Fast forward, Kristina gets shot in 2006. Fast forward another couple years of rehabs and stuff like that. And now I've just lit myself up with this unit. And so now I got friends in SWAT. So I call up Jen Grasso. She was first female officer in LAPD SWAT. And she is a phenomenal person. And I call her, hey, Jen, how do you guys simulate you've been hit by gunfire? She goes, oh, we got this pipe that we put our hand in so we can't use it. And sometimes we duct tape our hand in a glove so we can't use it. I'm thinking, okay, nothing changed from, let's say, 2010 or 11 or whatever it was since 96, and nothing existed before that. This is crazy. So I decide, okay, I'm gonna track this down. So I hire an engineer. I bring him down to the station, and I have my little TENS unit. I put him on his arm. I tell him why we do all our downed officer stuff. I go, I didn't even know how to trigger it automatically. So I had the batteries out. So I go, boom, I put the batteries in, boom, I light them up. I go, can you make that remote control for me?
Did you?
He goes, I can do that. So we made the first prototype. I got a climbing harness, and I had somebody sew wires all over it and stuff so I could get wires to all parts of the body. And ultimately it worked, man. I could control your abs, your arms, your legs. I could just hit a button and completely lock those muscles. And as long as I hold that button down, that muscle's locked. So I was testing that, running around like the mad scientist with this spaghetti mess of stuff. And the concept was like, I mean, this might work. And then right about that time, this is 5 years post Kristina's injury. And in that 5 years, 2 years after she was injured, we had a little boy, my son Lucas. So my daughter is Jordan, my son is Lucas. He's maybe 3 at this time. And I'm thinking about doing this. And I was like, okay. And Kristina's mental health and physical health got really bad. And she went into Betty Ford for alcohol and pain med abuse and all this stuff. And then things went totally sideways.
Wow.
Totally. She had been holding off this years of trauma. And once they took all that away from her, it just came rushing over her. And she turned into a full psych patient. That was 2 years back-to-back psych hospitals not to come home from right?
Wow, Tim.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And so I'm taking care of the kids. Her stuff gets really crazy, and the department comes to me and they're like, hey, some of my partners were telling like our union, hey, we're afraid Tim's going to die on this job. And now I'm 7 years into post-injury, still working gangs. I was in gang detectives. And, sticking by Kristina's side, right, through all that. And so the product became like a great distraction. It started off as a really good idea, and then it became a great distraction. And it kept me home working as purpose, right? And the 2-year mark of her being in these facilities, 1 year into that, we learned that she had an undiagnosed brain injury due to blood loss. And she had all these emotional storms, which are you would totally expect to be totally normal for
Absolutely.
that kind of injury, right?
Absolutely.
Imagine the moment she gets shot, her identity as a woman, her identity as a wife, her identity as a mom, her identity as a cop, as an athlete,
Everything.
boom, wiped off the face of the earth in a millisecond. And all her coping mechanisms, hardcore physical activity, hardcore job, everything, boom, wiped off she has literally nothing left.
No stress relief.
Zero. And what she doesn't know is that this blood loss, this massive blood loss, has created a brain injury in her amygdala and her frontal cortex. So your amygdala is your fight or flight.
Okay.
This guy's pissing me off. Fuck, I want to punch him right in the face. Frontal cortex kicks in and goes, if you do that, you're going to get arrested. It's going to cost you $40,000. It's going to be embarrassing. You're going to just, blah, 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 blah. Hey, you have a good day, man. Whatever. And
Yep.
you walk away.
Gotcha.
Her amygdala is running like crazy, right? It's all her thoughts are just racing like crazy because it's broken.
Oh.
And her frontal cortex is broken. And it can't stop it, so she has no brakes. So imagine all the emotions that come with being paralyzed and all the effects of that and all the frustration, and your amygdala is going nuts and your frontal cortex can't stop it, so she turns on herself, right? And so she ends up in all these psych hospitals. And then it just got wild from that point on. Why I say she is the toughest woman on earth for a bunch of reasons, but through all that, we ended up getting divorced at the end because there was some hellacious safety issues with the kids. None of this is her fault.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. I knew that's what it was.
Yeah, none of this is her fault.
Liability. Yeah.
And we are good friends today still. But I had to do what I had to do. And she ended up, it was many years, it was really rough. She lived in a bunch of facilities. And she was pushing us away because she can only control her world. Her world is she has to challenge all her thoughts. And so,
She's incredible, Tim.
oh yeah,
She's incredible.
yeah.
I would have found a building and paid money, be pushed off. That's a very strong woman.
Nobody, if you understand really what she goes through on a day-to-day basis, it is absolute. She told me she was so suicidal for so long, and she learned that she can't do it. Like some people just can't. They want to so bad and they can't. And she told me, I learned that I can't. Trust me. And so she's stuck in this world with this psychological issues. You know what's really fucked is when that happened, the department pulled me aside and said, Tim, they pulled me down to the workers' comp center insurance company. There's like 25 people at this table. And they go, we want you to know, everybody, we want to put your face on this case. And everybody here, this is what we are designed for. We're not designed for the slip and falls and all the nonsense and all the fighting you hear we do with officers. That's that. This is what we're here for, Tim. And we are going to be with you for the rest of Kristina's life. And we need you to see the team, and they need to see you. I was like, okay, great. What is she now? A number. Can't get medical care.
workers' comp. She's forced to go to only workers' comp doctors. You know what a nightmare that is?
Absolutely.
Takes her a year to get anything done. And she's had her bladder reconstructed multiple times. She's had her colon or her intestines taken out to add on to her bladder to rebuild it. She has colostomy bags, stoma for urination. She has 8 broken ribs. She has broken thumb. She's taken her a year to see a doctor for her thumb. And those are her legs. Like the new workers' comp insurance company that's there treats her like absolute crap. They completely reneged on their promise to our family. It's insane. So this girl, if anybody understands what she goes through on a daily basis.
How can that change? How can we make it change? We're California. That's the worst part. How do you?
We didn't have an attorney back then. I made the mistake. I trusted him.
Yeah, that's the other thing about being a cop. You trust.
But they want to give you a settlement, but they're like, hey, you have no idea what this injury is going to cost over a lifetime. You could outrun that settlement in moments. I was like, that makes sense.
Easy.
Totally makes sense. Anyways, so obviously I'm her biggest advocate. We get divorced. Takes her a couple years to get back here. I'm running kids out to see her every week, weekend stuff. And then she moves back down to the South Bay. And she ends up going back to school and goes to USC through a scholarship. Through somebody I met on the job, I took on a ride along. And he got her a scholarship at USC for her master's. And she did it. She got 5150 a few times during it because the stress. But she fucking did it. And then she got all her hours, and now she does therapy. She's a therapist. And it's the biggest improvement I've ever seen in her is purpose, right? Now she's able to apply all that experience as a police officer. She has a college degree before she was on the job. All that experience as a police officer, and then all those years of therapy, thousands and thousands of hours of therapy that she went through. And all the people she's dealt with over the years, and then to get a master's education in it, and then to put all that in a package and apply it to people is unreal. It's so good.
I can't even fathom. It's difficult for somebody without that to finish stuff up.
Toughest woman.
Another water.
And let me jump back to the product. So while she's going through all these facilities and everything, and I'm raising the kids and I'm working on this product. Thank you, sir. I end up meeting a Navy SEAL Team 6 guy, who's team leader, Dom Rosso. Makes knives, and amazing guy. I met him through a friend. And so I take my prototype out to him, stringy mess of climbing harness and wires everywhere. And I light him and his friends up, and they're like, dude, we love this. He goes, I just left the teams. He goes, I wish I had this in the teams. He goes, we try everything, all the toys. And he goes, this is legit, absolutely legit. So he goes, but you got to turn it into a garment. And I knew I had to go there. I just didn't know how.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I ended up through investigating, got myself to 2 North Face clothing designers, a husband-wife team, hired them on the side, and they helped me design the sleeves that are in the system now, which are these neoprene sleeves you slide on, and it has conductive fabrics bonded on the inside, 2 electrodes here, 2 here, and 2 here. Throw a little harness on with a little backpack receiver, and the instructor's got a remote. And the remote looks like the operation game. Got a picture of a body and a button on each body part. And so I wire you up, and I say, hey, you're going to go up and walk up and do a traffic stop on that car. And I know bad guy in the car's got a gun. And he's going to pop out on you. So you walk up to do your traffic stop. He pops out of the car, boom, pulls the gun on you, starts shooting. You're holstered. He's got the drop on you. I hit a button, boom, your right arm locks into a chicken wing. And now you're in a gunfight with an arm gone. And you've got to cross draw, you got to move, you got to shoot, and you got to return fire accurately and effectively. Otherwise, you're going to die, right? In the real world. Because there's only two kinds of shooters out there. The kind that shoot at you and run and hide and bed down, whatever. Okay, get behind cover, get help coming, get a tourniquet on.
Yep.
The gunfight's over.
Or
You've
they
been
hunt you
hit,
down.
the gunfight's over. The other kind of shooter, the only other choice, is the kind that shoots at you and stays in it and hunts you down trying to kill you. They're staying in it.
Yep.
Active shooter, aggressive shooter, any of that kind of stuff. In combat. And at that point, when you got a round sent through your body, like that first round's bad, the next 10 or 20 are horrible. And you're going to be injured. The boogeyman's got you. And now you're expected to fight back accurately and effectively offhand with 0.0 training. That's insane.
Yep.
But that's what we're left with. And it's like a pilot. They teach pilots to take off and land, but they also teach them how to mitigate catastrophic failures in the air. What do we get? Like, they're taught that because their life is at risk, the passengers and the people on the ground. When we're going up against some kind of shooter in public, it's our lives, our partners' lives, and the public's lives around us. There is zero difference, but we're not given anything. And so that, as I thought this was a good idea, then it was a good distraction, and then it's becoming so validated that I absolutely 100% know it's going to save lives. And now it's become a mission. A mission that I can tell you stories forever about how freaking hard this is. But my goal is to make it mandatory, consequences mandatory in active shooter training. Because we did a training, I won't name the city. 3 cities came together, high school, active shooter, teams of 4, 20 teams of 4 went through this scenario. Everybody is comfortable with the tactical ballet of getting to the shooting. The 4 of us move like this, we split here, we turn here, to get there. But there is no practice of the face-to-face violence that you're going to encounter. It's just getting there with the assumption that we're always going to win.
Yep.
And so here's a good example. We do this training and we put AUFIRE on the team going in, and as they're shooters in a classroom shooting, officers coming down the main hallway, shooter steps out in the main hallway, cracks rounds at the officers approaching, boom, we hit one of them, right? Shooter steps back in the classroom, continues shooting people, trying to draw them in, right, where they need to go. Multiple of those teams, either the guy who gets hit stops dead in his tracks, goes straight to tourniquet, or the whole team stops for him, right? Only one guy that got hit actually ripped the gun out of his hand, went in behind the other 3 and tried to help, right? That's what's supposed to happen. Another couple seconds, because that guy, as that shooter knows you guys are coming in, he's going to open up on that front door and lay everybody out. You might be the last guy to get off the shot, the winning shot. You have to go. But what we saw was cops they're not ready. Not all, but a lot are not ready for that.
Well, the only thing I took from the academy, and even to this day, guess what? I'm right-handed.
Everything.
Everything's in my left hand. Even to this day.
Yeah.
Right?
I never carry anything in your right hand.
I never carry anything in my right hand.
Yeah.
But where you're going is absolutely 100% correct. Not only that, when they're hitting, walking, and one goes out, it's not like they need to. It's teaching them how to reposition themselves, whether 2 is hit and who takes front and who gets back, and why that you reload with your other hand and you go in. I could see so much training applied.
And what it's showing people, we call it distraction by contraction. Because that's all we're doing. Boom, we're contracting the muscles immediately, and you don't have a choice in it. And it happens at our will, not yours. So you don't know when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, and what arm. And in the future, we'll have abs and legs. But you get hit, and you have to solve that problem. So we're teaching you're teaching yourself We're training the brain to separate the distraction from the mission that's got to happen right now. And that's get on your sights, get on that target, and drop that target. You do not have time. Like I said, the first round's bad. The next 10 or 20 are horrible. You don't have time to go, oh, I've been hit. I've been shot. What do I do? You don't have time to do any of that. You've got to be problem solving immediately.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I got to ask you something. I'm not going to make this about me, but I was it was an off-duty thing. It was when all the freeway shootings were really popular.
Yeah.
My car got stolen. I had to borrow my brother's Pinto runabout. I'm in a black jacket.
Yeah.
Gelled. I'm coming back from off a training party. A sergeant invited me to.
Yeah.
And Norwalk Vadio pulls up along the side.
Ooh.
All right. Yeah. So I tried just so your thought process, like you said.
Yeah.
My whole thinking, I can't do that. My old man said, "Don't embarrass us. Don't embarrass us." So I'm thinking, oh, there's too many people in the freeway. This is like 11:30. Long story short, my biggest thing, I took the rounds. I got hit in the hand. Luckily, a bunch of rounds came in the car. But where I'm going with that, it was, I think the biggest thing is, how was I really, because we talk about it in the shower, we practice, you do all that. How am I really going to respond when I get hit? Because we all see movies and we all go, but am I going to roll up in a little ball? Am I going to forget my training? But my training came back. But where I'm going with your device, you're actually giving them, you're going to actually see.
Yeah.
That person may get, that guy could be 6'8", but
totally.
a thumbnail takes him completely out.
Yep.
So it's not just the training being able to go through it, is how is that person really going to respond to something just, am I going the right direction?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So jump back to that shooting I got in with Kristina, right, where it got hit in the face with all the wadding. That night, I'm standing on the front lawn. The whole world's there. My sergeant comes up to me, and I'm looking at the grass. He's talking to me. I'm just listening. I'm looking at the grass, and he goes, "Dude, how are you so calm? You almost got your head taken off." And I remember looking up at him going, I don't care about any of that. I was actually surprised I thought that. I was like, that's not even a consideration. I don't care. I am just so relieved that I actually pulled the trigger. I had this fear in the back of my head. Like, I'm a big, aggressive guy, super competitive, and I got a ton of life experience before I came on the job, like some legit stuff. And I was afraid that I might be that guy who thinks he's a tough guy, and when it's go time, doesn't pull the trigger, freezes. That was a big question mark in the back of my head. And I thought, and that's all I was concerned. I was so relieved that I actually pulled the trigger. I'm like, oh, now I know. Now I know who I am. And if I have that big question mark in my head, my 120 classmates have a much bigger one. I guarantee it.
Absolutely. Especially, that I'm going to go,
And like you said, you get these kids that grow up in Mayberry, and they're expected to know this about themselves.
Yeah.
And where does fear come from? And anxiety? It's not knowing what you're going to do or how you're going to be able to control a situation. So my point is, I can take people through this. I know it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal in a different way. By lighting them up and showing them, usually the first time it's a yard sale, they shoot all over the place, right?
Yeah.
The second time, eat it up, and they start point shooting, so their pattern comes in. And then third time, even if I hit them in the other arm, they just get mad and they go, boom, and they start shooting and they start hitting their target. They are teaching themselves that they can do this. I'm not teaching them anything.
See, you bring up a really good point. And I was looking at your product like, oh, you're going to teach them to do it, but we're taking them in that shooting. This is the thought process. We're going to build your confidence.
Yes.
We're not just going to teach you how to cross draw.
Yeah.
We're building your confidence.
Yep, 100%. A calm, confident officer makes better decisions under stress. And you're sending them out there with this falsehood that you're sending them out from the chief down to us on the street. That you are sent out there with nothing but hope and a prayer that when that moment happens, that you're somehow you're going to pull out your inner Rambo, who you've never summoned before.
That's right.
And in the heat of the moment, you're going to be able to fight back while you're bleeding and injured. You're going to fight back accurately and effectively with your offhand.
Yep.
Like with 0.0 training. That is criminal, in my opinion.
Yep.
Because we're mandated to go up against armed criminals. Oh. And there's an institutional arrogance in that. We're going to be victorious because we have superior weapons and tactics.
Yeah.
Our training is one directional, always. look, you got Sims rounds. Those are awesome, right?
Yeah.
But they go boom and they hit you, and I'm going to power through that.
Yeah.
It's false. Everything from that moment on is false. Sims is getting hit by gunfire. Accuracy under fire is getting hit by gunfire and everything that comes after it.
But even better, and you know this, but I got to let this Pim. What's even better, what I'm learning right now, is that in the Sims, you know what's coming.
Yeah.
With they can be walking, you're going through, they never know when it's going to be hit.
Yep.
So it's a surprise always, which is great training. It's a surprise. Whether you're it's a total surprise.
That's why consequences needs to be mandatory in training, right? Because when I'm guilty of it too, I would avoid training at all costs because I wanted to be on the street doing the work, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd be like, I got to go to training. I know it's good, but I'd rather be out in the street. And I'd catch myself going through the motions. All right, we're going to come here, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Then you put this system on now, oh shit. All right, when's it going to hit me? Where is it going to hit me? Is it going to hit me? Now you're paying attention. Now you're thinking, all right, do I remember how to reload one-handed? Do I remember how to do my tourniquet? Where is my tourniquet? You're right. So now you're getting some deep learning because you're paying attention. And when you go through it, you cannot cheat. You have got to problem solve in real time or you're going to die. Simulated die, right?
Yep.
I think there's a lot of apprehension about it because it's electricity. It's 66 volts. It's a half of a milliamp. It is less than what you can buy on Amazon as a TENS unit. I literally went to Amazon, bought 5 TENS units, had my engineers do a study, and we came in second to the lowest. Because I told them the threshold has to be below what you can buy over the counter, and it doesn't take much to lock that muscle down. And it's not painful. It's super uncomfortable. 3% of people will go, yeah, no, that's pain. But everybody goes, no, it's not painful. It's just weird. It's got me. You can feel the muscle going,
sure.
And you can't even on a level 4, I can't even push your arm open.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
there's
That's exactly what you want. It wouldn't work otherwise.
We're training the brain, not the body.
Yeah.
We're training the brain to go, okay, this is bad. What can I do? Boom.
Yeah.
So in that scenario on a car, you walk up on a car, bad guy pops out, boom, shoots at you, boom, you're running around the car, you're shooting back. You might have to do a mag change in that whole thing, right? Now you're doing a mag change on the move because this guy's out of the car chasing you down, right?
Yep.
Boom, you finally zing him, he goes down. I'm going to keep you pinned until you get that tourniquet on. And so I did it on LA County Sheriff's TAS unit years ago. We did 8 of the instructors. They loved it, absolutely loved it. And but they teach tourniquet, and a couple of them had a really hard time putting a tourniquet on under duress because it's a whole different story. And I would stand over them. I'm like, hey, I'm not letting off this button until you get that done. You're bleeding out. You're dying. And so they're like, they couldn't catch it, whatever. And then they find a car, pin it against the car, and then get it tight, and then start working it. They problem solved on the spot.
So there's so much to your unit.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful work, beautiful training.
Tim, I got to ask you. Number one, it's a beautiful unit, the way you package it. But there's got to be, every time you go, and I encourage everybody, every time you go and you apply or you do training, you got to be walking away with something new. You're learning something every day.
I was never a trainer. I know what's coming. I can't wait for the day I get a letter, a note, an email. Hey, man, I trained with your product 3 years ago. I got in a shooting. It was a non-issue. Like I had been there already, and I was able to get on my sights, and I was able to drop this guy.
Yep.
I can't wait for that. I know it's coming.
I think the more letters you're going to get is, thank you for building my confidence because I needed to know what I could do.
Yeah.
Okay. And now I know it's going to be maybe a little bit worse than that, but this gave me a good start. This is very basic, right?
I've had 3 people who've been shot told me this was worse.
Really?
Yeah. Because
that's true. Because when a lot of people, I'm sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but I didn't know. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it.
that was their point. So you have so much adrenaline going, you don't feel it. And they go, with your product, you feel it and you have the limb problem. So you had the limb problem because it was broken or whatever. You couldn't use it. but you didn't feel it because you're cranking with adrenaline. In training, boom, you get hit, and it's mentally distracting because you can feel it, but you also have the limb problem. You can't use that limb. So you've got to problem solve with all that distraction. So one of them told me he was in Afghanistan and he was getting dumped on, and he's running for a pile of rocks. He gets hit in the leg, and he said he knew his leg was hit and he could feel the wetness of the blood, but he couldn't feel the pain. And he dove behind these rocks, and eventually he gets saved by a team, and he's in the helicopter. Like 20 minutes later, he's in the helicopter, and he said that's when the pain kicked in. And he goes, in a sense, this overtrains you for the moment, which is good because it's all mental. I know it's going to hit. We got 55 agencies running it now. We've been selling it for 2 years. I got the Air Force security forces just told me that they want to run it in 92 locations around the world where they have security forces protecting bases. The Army is looking at it. The Army is asking for consequences in training now, in live training. And we are integrating with all the top simulator companies now, because I've gotten to know most of the simulator companies: Milo, TI, Dart, Cole, Arc One, bunch of others. And I've talked to them all, and I said, hey, look, you guys are setting us up for a zero-sum game mindset, because we've never been shot before. So we have to assume that if we get shot, we die. And I go, all your scenarios, when bad guy on the screen shoots at you, if you don't tag him fast enough, the screen goes black. There's no opportunity to fight while injured. And now that I have AUFIRE, now we have that. So you've got to start creating your scenarios so that it's the bank robbery or whatever. He shoots at you, boom, you get hit. That's where the gunfight starts.
Yep.
It's not over just because you got hit.
Yeah.
And you don't die just because you got hit.
Yep. Not only that, Tim, I would think if I practiced with your unit, okay, and I got hit, I would know in my mind going, okay, a potential hit, it took me 10 seconds to get my shit together and get that gun. So instead of staying in that position, I'm going to go for cover as fast as I can. While in that 10 seconds, and while I'm doing that cover move, I'm going to be grabbing and getting myself positioned. So it's going to teach me. In fact, I would want it to sit individually, not just a training class. I would love to own it myself and be able to just think you could sit in your own house and practice, have somebody with you, and you could practice that. It's incredible.
You can practice isolation drills. Like, now we just made it so that it could integrate with these firearms training simulators, all of them. We created a GUI that allows them to put it into their program so that, say, when bad guy on screen points and pulls the trigger, that automatically triggers AUFIRE. No remote control needed.
Really?
Yeah. So they can create the scenarios, and they can pick when the bad guy is going to shoot you, and you're going to get affected. And now you're returning fire, and the simulator is tracking your accuracy, your timing, your hits, all that stuff. And so now you're going to be able to see progress from the first time it was a yard sale. You did a halo of bullets around the guy. You hit everybody in the background, but not him.
Yeah.
Then the second time, boom, you get hit, boom. And now you're point shooting. So your pattern's like this, a lot better. And then you go through it again, and now you're on your sight and you're hitting your target. And that's telling you, I can do this. That is a huge win. Or you could do things like you could set up lanes. Like you have 4 guys here, and we have turn and face targets, and we're going to practice cross draws. All right? No, you're going to have sleeves on, but no effect. All right, turn and face. All right, boom, cross draw, shoot. Okay, practice. All right, now next one, we're going to do cross draw, shoot, drop a magazine, load a magazine, shoot again, and holster. All right, now we're going to do cross draw, shoot, drop a magazine, load a magazine, shoot, holster, put a tourniquet on. All right, now we're going to run one live. All right, cross draw, turns and face, boom, you get hit, right? Now you're going to be doing everything. It's going to be a mess. Boom, boom. You're like, oh, shit. And then now we're going to keep practicing that. So you could do the first ones on like level 2, which is, it's distracting, but you can still mostly use your arm. And then you can bump it up later into 3 and 4, where it's full contraction, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you could do where people really get messed up is trying to reload a rifle.
Oh, I bet.
I've done it with the military.
And you think that would be easier than a handgun? It's not.
No, they're pushing the rifle around in circles on the ground trying to get the mag in. Here's a good example. I was at West Point, the simulation laboratory. Jim got me in there, right? Pitbull, right?
Yeah, it is a pit bull.
We had the EST system, their big flat screen system. And so we set 2 soldiers up, and we did this for 2 days. We had everybody from cadets all the way to colonels and military, police, everything, because everybody started hearing about us and they coming up to try it. So we've got this like enemy military coming through this forest, coming up this hill. So the 2 soldiers are in defensive positions with their rifles, and they're helping each other. They're picking people off as they're advancing. Then boom, we hit one of them in the arm. He goes down, I'm hit, and he's trying to put a tourniquet on under duress for the first time. It's a mess. The other guy's up there going boom, trying to take over and pick people off. The military's advancing on him. All of a sudden, this guy, he's got it on. Now he gets his rifle up. He stands up, and he's helping one hand. So now they're both shooting again. Then we hit the other guy, right? Oh, he goes down. I'm hit. I'm putting my tourniquet on. Now he's down doing his tourniquet, and number 1 goes dry, right? Because he's been shooting for a while. Now he's trying to load this gun one-handed, and the other guy's trying to get his tourniquet on, and they just get overrun. We saw this for 2 days, and I was standing there. I wasn't in the military, but I was standing there watching going, oh, my God. How many people have been killed in combat because 2 things went wrong, and they just didn't have any training on how to solve those things? Like in all the battles that we've seen, and even in the Black Hawk Down documentary, not the movie, the documentary, I think it was a pilot who was in that, he goes, yeah, the one thing I learned is that we're always, the point of the spear, we're always pushing, we're always going forward. But he goes, when you're in that, you realize bullets go both ways. And we hadn't really been in a defensive position like that. And it's the same thing I'm getting at. Like, we have to train as if it's a 2-way battle.
Absolutely.
Because we're doing too much one-directional, and that's that arrogance, that institutional arrogance.
Yeah, you bring up such a really good point. That training you're doing, it's bringing out all the what-if scenarios.
So I'm really looking forward to when real trainers get this and they start developing new tactics based on it, on what people really do versus what they think they're going to do, or how it really is difficult to load a weapon one-handed versus teaching them how to pin that rifle in between something so it's stable, getting really simple stuff that just isn't, because there's this gap that I'm feeling has just been overlooked because there's been no way to do it. So we just assume there's no way we can shoot people so they understand what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
So it just completely is glossed over. And I'm opening that up saying, no, this is a critical piece of this job. You are mandating that we go up against armed criminals, and you're not giving us anything for when it goes sideways, when it doesn't go perfect.
Sure.
And to me, that's criminal.
Yeah.
I just did
It's not the movies. We don't win all the time.
No, we're always, they got the drop on us.
Yeah.
That's the one thing, as a new cop, you're driving around, you're like, holy shit, I'm in this giant Target.
Yep.
And we don't even have bulletproof doors.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember time going through some alleyways. Remember when you could take the tail lights and kill them?
Yeah.
And you're going through the alleyway, you're rolling down the windows, you got your heater on, and you got the radio going, and then you see people crossing behind you in the dark, and you're going, where'd that guy come from? 3 o'clock in the morning? You go, oh my God. Where in the hell am I?
Yeah.
Noises, whistles. Oh my God, it's incredible. I wanted to say, you probably do this, but your ability as you move these things, so important to have these trainers share that experience online with you. Every little thing they came across, some new experience, something that happened in that class, to bring that together as a group and have that, you're training yearly. I just don't think it would ever stop. The values, it's incredible, Tim, what you put together.
There's a big future for this thing. Right now, it's just Jim and I, and we are completely overwhelmed with work, trying to make this grow, and we're doing everything we can. And it's happening. I think this is going to be a standout year. Because now, in the beginning, was like, what? You're going to put electricity on me? You're going to shock me? This and that? No, we're not shocking you. This is contraction, muscle contraction. We had to educate the market. We had to show them that this gap can be filled.
Yeah.
And now we feel like we've really done a good job of that. And now there's no pushback at all. Now it's just finding the money and the budget or whatever, the planning. And I just lit up the general in charge of all training for the U.S. Marine Corps out in Austin 2 weeks ago.
You love it?
He goes, damn. He goes, I'll tell you what, I will never forget that thing, and I will never forget you.
Yeah,
I go,
that's
good.
fantastic. So, you know what? I got to ask you.
Yeah.
The world of security, law enforcement, can't even fill a class anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how that's going to go because when they did burpees, the kids said, yeah, I won't even get into that. The academies are having a real rough time too. So different breed, but security was observe and report.
Yeah.
And now the clients,
Yeah.
because of the calls for service, are now asking security to step up.
Yeah.
Okay. There's robots, there's drones. It doesn't matter. The victim still needs somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Okay. So the clients, where I'm going, the clients are asking for security to do more.
Yeah.
So they're expecting them. Executive protection, same thing. You're going to see more training, private security.
Yeah.
I think you know where I'm going with
Much
this.
higher level. Yep.
Much higher level. And I think this is super important. How can I help you with the security industry? Your guards are carrying firearms. People will be demanding more. Why not get ahead of it as far as the training and liability, especially in the school shooting where they're putting security officers to be able to, I'm not saying they're going to go into move into tactics, but at least to get them experience to how to apply a tourniquet, get them in self-position, protect themselves, and if they have to get involved, be proficient, let them experience. I think this product would be incredible for security industry. How can we do that? How do we get involved? What's your thought on that? You got a lot going, but how do we do this?
You're 100% right. Like the demand on security market's just going to grow like crazy. And the demand on your security officers is going to be much more. They're going to be expected to be a much higher level of professionalism. There's always that higher level of professionalism, but that's going to be expected across the whole spectrum eventually, because there's going to be a long time before we get police back up to where they need to be. It's just been neutered. And I see security guards with guns all the time. You just don't know what kind of training they have. It cannot hurt, because here's what's going to happen. Like if you use that weapon, you're responsible for every single round that comes out of that thing, and it doesn't come back. And if you go off hitting the public in the background, imagine the liability on that.
Yep.
On the private side. And we have the city to defend us if we do that in the course of our job. But
Sure.
God, I can't imagine the liability. So I would imagine that training armed security officers would be extremely valuable to a company to know. I would want to know what my officers are capable of, because that not knowing is a lot worse. That's just hope and a prayer and fantasy. You would want to put them through it so that give them the confidence, so that they're looking at their background. They're exercising that ability to see through the moment and see what's behind the bad guy and be able to engage them like that. That's got to be incredibly valuable training for them.
Here's my thought on it, because I want to be very careful in the security industry. I know I spend a lot of time with all of them. I don't want ever a security officer thinking like a police officer. Okay, but where I'm going with this, you don't like training. You don't like paperwork. You don't like BCIS. We want you to understand liability. We want you to understand what situations are out there that can't get you sued or get you killed, all right? So why not take on a project, something like this? It would be fun for you to come in the experience, to really understand, hey, if I get shot, this is what it feels like. Hey, if I get shot and I'm in a school and I'm room and I need to really protect myself. But at the same time, we teach you how to keep yourself safe, keep you out of liability, and what happens if and when you do pull that gun and you shoot. Like apartment complexes, way different than a construction site, okay? Yeah. You got 500 people, 2 in each room. A lot of liability there, right? Yep. So where I'm going, I think this would be fun training. And when it's fun, it's educational. Then you learn. You'll pick up the other stuff that goes with it, all right? So all the liabilities, all the things you need to avoid, that's at the end. But I think we'd all agree you would love to come in and experience something like this and fun, not only for your own personal side, all right, where you could go with it, but it just shows you who you are. Let's come see what you're made of. It might even surprise yourself. You might even say, you know what? I couldn't even take that 10s unit. I thought I wanted to be a police officer. I don't think I want to go there. You never know. There's a lot to learn here in this training. I think it would be just incredible.
We just partnered with a company down in San Diego called Secure Measures, and they have a Milo simulator. And they're training civilians who are getting their CCWs. And the civilians really want to know what it's like. They want to be prepared. They have a different mindset, a lot of them, right? They see that responsibility of that gun as a great responsibility, and they want to have as much training as possible. And these guys are starting to do that with our system down there, and I think it's wonderful. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. These training companies that have simulators can easily integrate their simulator company, like a Milo or a T or them. They can get their systems upgraded so that it automatically triggers AUFIRE. There's whole new training categories you can.
Yeah, it goes on.
That you can do with this. It just opens up a whole nother world. All the simulations that they have, some of them don't work because they go black right away when you get shot. But some of them you can play all the way through, and at least you're marking and tracking on the screen and you can see where you're hitting, and you can see your progress with each rep. People get better immediately on this thing. That's the really cool thing about it.
You guys are going to see on a podcast, you may have seen already, I have Dave Weiner and Scott Walker on. We talked a little bit about his Secure Measures, his training program. We're going to get more, and I'm going to hopefully get Tim back into this too, but all aspects I love. But just promise me one thing as an entrepreneur, Tim. Now, I want you to remember this, okay? Do me a favor. You realize you're the face of this company, right? When you're out telling this story, that's what matters. Don't sell to corporate. Be the face of this company. Get this thing out. I know you will, but you know where I'm going with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so important because your story, you're going to change lives. Don't give it to corporate. I just got to tell you that. Don't ever give it to corporate because this is incredible. This is going to be, I think, a very big deal. It really is. And this world is not getting any better.
That's why I lead with that story almost all the time, some variation of it, because it sets the stage for what we're really talking about, is what this job really is, right? If you got a gun on your hip, you have a massive amount of responsibility and risk, right? And that story is the epitome of what can go wrong, right? It would have been way easier. Life would have been so much easier when you're killed, right? This is over. It's done.
Yep.
But to end up with this kind of an injury from that, it's a nightmare, absolute nightmare. And so I'm not selling a product.
That's right.
I'm selling the reality of this job, and I lived it, and I've experienced it, and I'm converting it into something that's going to hopefully prevent that from happening to somebody. And I don't like talking about that story over and over again, but I think it's extremely important for people to hear, because we all have this fantasy like it's somebody else.
Yep.
But it can be you. And what's going to change that is the training and the mindset going into these situations. I know it's going to save somebody's life. And like I said, it's now a mission, 100% mission. And I think the best place to start is if we can just get active shooter trained, because that's so random, right? You're on patrol, active shooter, such and such, mall, school, whatever, boom, you got to go. And now you're thrown in, you're dealing with somebody with a rifle inside who's there. Like, their goal is mass casualty is what their goal is when they go in there.
That's right.
Then as the police arrive, their goal switches to how many officers can I kill before I die?
Yep.
There is no getting out of this. This is not going to stop. And the way I see it is all future active shooters have watched the past ones, and they all go into this saying, I can do more, I can kill more, right? That's their mindset. All citizens have been watching this, and they know, boom, as soon as they hear gunshots, all of a sudden, boom, doors are locking down. Boom, 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 boom. They're smarter now. Your smarter active shooter is going to find a position of cover on a funnel of death, some main hallway coming into a building, and he's going to sit there and just start dumping cops. It's going to be a mini Beaches of Normandy until somebody can zing him. How many cops are ready for that? To go into a hallway with 7 downed cops And press forward and keep fighting.
Nope, you bring up a good point. Not to carry on with this, but the biggest problem, and I think that was in Mexico, was the delay. Because people don't understand the mindset. They keep shooting and shooting. You can't contain. You got to go. Got to get in. So to your point, am I wrong?
Yeah, you have to train that. You have to train the overriding of that instinct. That we have a super strong instinct of self-preservation. And as cops, we have to train to override that. And that is perishable. It's perishable even when you're on the freaking job. Like, you have to be pushed in these situations where you force yourself over that hurdle and go forward straight into the face of probable death. Otherwise, you're not ready. You're just hoping. You're hoping you're ready. You're fooling yourself.
Sure.
Unless you've proven yourself. You don't know until you've done it.
Yeah. My lesson, very small, was when we shot at night at Wayside, and I was 5 feet in front of the target. And it was sideways, and they said, okay, all you got to do is draw from your gun and shoot the target.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I missed it. Training,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
What you're doing,
Yeah.
incredible. I got to tell you, my friend, I don't know how you pull through it. I don't know how you pull through it. And I know you're working hard, and you have to think about it every day. Kristina, you're an incredible woman. You really are. Loved by an incredible man. The work that you've done with LAPD, you as an individual, for you to even be able to pull yourself together to even do this and commit to this to help other people with all the stuff that you're going on right now and not roll up in a little ball. And I would completely understand that. You've been through a lot, Tim.
Thank you.
And I think this is going to be incredible, and I want to support you any way I possibly can. And I want to work with Dave, and maybe we could definitely do things with getting security officers to make them safe too. It's a great product.
I certainly appreciate that. Yeah, you don't know. You have no idea. I'm not like, you just deal with this stuff day by day. You just deal with whatever challenge comes your way, but you don't know until you're in it if you can handle. I would never have guessed I could handle this. And most people are that way. They're like, oh, I could never do that. But when it happens, you just freaking do it. You just put your head down, you move, and you go forward. What are your choices, right? The alternative is not good. The alternative is bad in every direction. So most people think they can't do hard things, but when faced with them, they step up to the plate. And that's really what this has been. I would never have thought that I could go through all this stuff. And then Kristina the same way. I know she's the same way. But yeah, just the way I see it, there's no other alternatives.
There's not. Okay, so let's give a website. Let's give a location. How do they contact you? What's the best way to get a hold of you? What's the best way to do this?
I certainly appreciate it. It's Accuracy Under Fire. We call it AUFIRE for short. And so AUFIRE.com. And I always suggest people go to AUFIRE.com/videos or go to my videos tab, because there's a bunch of really cool videos on there of like ambush training with the system. And I think that's the best way to understand it. See it in action. This is the way it is. When people hear about it, they go, oh, that's cool. And then they see a video and they're like, oh, that is cool. And almost always when they put it on and go through it, they're like, oh, now I get it.
Yep.
It's definitely a try situation where to understand it. And then all the wheels start clicking like, oh, we could do it this way. We could do it that way. We could do it in this training. And it's just a bolt on to any training. It's like some departments will say, oh, we don't have enough training hours as it is. This is icing on the cake. It just adds to what you're already doing and makes it better, makes it more realistic.
You know what I think of this as? Here's what came to my mind. You know, you people love to ride with the Thunderbirds, right?
Yeah.
Go for a ride. What are they really doing? I really see this is like riding with the Thunderbirds. Now you really get to feel experience. Training is one thing. There's another word for it. What is that? There's another word for this. This is really, it's not only life-saving, and I get all that, but there's another word for this. There's really, you're going to walk away with a real deep sense of, I can do it.
I can do this, yeah.
I can do this. I have a general idea what it looks like. I know I can put a tourniquet on.
Yeah.
I know I can support my partner, my team. My partner knows he saw me in this training at the same time that, hey, I didn't roll up in a ball.
Yes.
We learned to work together as a team. We repositioned ourselves different.
Yep.
And if we keep doing this, we can only get better.
Yep.
When we get into an accurate situation, okay, yeah, we can go through the move. Yeah, we all got that. I mean, all very impressive.
Yeah.
But going in, whatever happens, we're going to We're like chess players.
There's a really good video on my webpage by Chicopee PD back in outside Springfield, Massachusetts. And they did exactly that. They set up in the middle of the room like this bunch of wrestling mats stacked up. They get ambushed from two directions, and the one partner's injured and trying to get his tourniquet on. The other one's covering down for him, then pulling him out as the gunfire changes. He's pulling him out of the line of fire, just like sucking him back behind cover because the angle's changed. And then once he gets that up, they both get back in it and they both start fighting. And just what you're saying, you see what your partner's doing. And then you get practice working together in a really critical situation. Gold, absolute gold.
Yep, unbelievable. Brother, I'm going to call you brother, man, because thank you for your service and everything you've done, and thank you for leaving that construction job and jumping into LAPD. Who would have known? Who would have known?
No kidding, man.
Who would have known? And Torrance PD, thank you for saying no.
Yeah, I love Torrance PD. but it was a better fit for me up in the hood. Just
Way better fit.
Yeah.
You were a cop.
Yeah.
You were a cop.
You can be creative, and you just
You can't take that away, man.
Yeah,
you can't take that away.
Yeah.
Wasn't it cool you got to do that?
Oh my God.
It's gone now, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, I got out of it with some of my sanity, and I still got my buddies they're all retiring right now at 30 years.
Isn't that crazy?
The best dudes on earth, man.
I know. So I try to tell people all the time, you guys have no idea. You got to go talk to these guys with gray hair. You have no idea. There's so much education, so much there. Marlon Marachi, he does an IA thing.
Oh, yeah,
He's got a lot of guys coming in, and they're 10 years later. But even that gap about IA, I'm going, IA to me wasn't a big deal because I knew the guys that were in IA. They were old school guys. You knew they had your back. It wasn't about the corporate thing. It was just a different branch. It's just a different world.
It wasn't that way at LAPD.
No, pretty bad.
They had 525 Sergeant 2s in IA when I was there.
What happened to the old school thing in the car?
There were some, right?
Was it all about promotion, do you think?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
what it became at LAPD.
Okay. I don't want to get on that, but
Yeah.
But Tim, I want to get with Dave, okay? And I want to get with Dave and talk to him more about the security, but any way I can help. But again, thank you so much for coming in here. I really appreciate it. I hope we can get together again. I want to go experience it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd bring it down anytime.
I really would.
Yeah.
I really do. And thank you so much. And God bless you and your wife, Kristina. You're a rock.
She is.
You're a rock. And the best to you, my friend. Keep going.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You bet, brother. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Comment, like, share, and subscribe.